All right, let's look into some fun queries that we can also use to insert, update, delete our records, our data, our documents. All right, so the first thing would be, let's use this example, unsafe model. So let's go ahead and create a user, which will be of type user. And our user, you can see that it takes first name, last name, addresses. We're not going to care about the addresses at this point, but we're going to take a look at it later. So let's go ahead and initialize it. First name, let's just say Alex, and last name Jones. All right, and let's go ahead and console.log it out. Go to your terminal and run this file, node-app.js. So it shows us that this is Alex Jones. Addresses is currently empty array, and it has some sort of ID attached to it. That's all right. So it's not really saved in the database at this point. All right, so we can easily save it by just calling the save method. This one, which is then, is the success, and this one, the catch, is basically when there's any error or something. All right, so in the console for the success, we can say user has been inserted. And in the console for the catch, we can say something bad happened. All right, and we will also go ahead and console.log user again. Okay, so user, which is an object, which is this one, dot save, is going to save it in the database, in our document database. If it's successful, then it's going to run this portion. If it is an error, that something bad happens, some sort of an error is thrown, then it's going to run line number 12. Let's go ahead and run this, and you can see that it's saying the user has been inserted. So let's go and check it out. Let's see if the user has been inserted or not. So let's go ahead and find this, and the last one you can see is the user, Alex Jones, which we just inserted. Now you can also create the model and save the model in one command if you're using the create function. But one thing to note over here is that the create function is not on the object, it is on the class level, basically the function level, the recipe. All right, so if you do want to call create, let me actually hide this one up, then you will have to say user. That's the difference, right? This is capital U. This is representing this. So we're not really creating an object, we're just calling it on the user itself. Dot create, and over here you can then pass in the information that you want to create. So first name, whatever, Jim, and last name, whatever, Bean. So this is going to create and save in the database, and then this is going to fire the same one, which is the success on the success part, and if there's any error, error part right here. All right, so you can try this out. This is basically going to insert one user. It's going to create it and insert it at one go. Depending on the scenario that you're using, you can use either of these. So it really depends of if you are not attaching multiple stuff over here. Sometime if you have a lot of properties, like in our case, we actually do have a lot of properties if we are inserting addresses, so it might become a little bit more cumbersome to add it over here rather than just using the property over here and saying addresses and all that stuff. All right, so you can use this. If you run this, it's going to insert one user, Jim Bean, into the database. All right, let's see how we can actually select the items from the database, or if we can find the item from the database. So this is the command, basically find one. You can also use find multiple items. So let's go over here, simply copy this. And if I go over here, I will change some of these things because we don't have a recipe we have a user. User we're finding, and we are saying that the name of the user, at least the first name of the user, has to be John. Okay, so give me all those users, and it's going to give me one user because we're finding by just one. So let's see if it actually gives us anything. So result will be one user. So console.log result. All right. Now first, let's go to the database and see if we have a user called John. There is a user called John. There's another user called John also. Okay. So let's go over here and run our example. And there we go. I think it printed out this one. All right, so John Doe. So it was able to find that user. Let's just comment this one out. Now, if you want to find multiple users, you can use find method over here. But right now they're providing some sort of a filter criteria. If you don't provide any filter criteria, then it will find all the users. So if I comment this one out and I say user dot find, then I should be able to find all the users. All right, so this will be all the users. It doesn't have to be users. I mean, like, you can say anything you want over here, but it makes more sense if you say users. Be as descriptive as you can. Console.log users. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. Let's go ahead and you can see that what it is doing is it's printing out all the users in there. It's weird because it should have also, I think there are two John Does and it's only printing out one of them. That is kind of a little bit weird. All right. So there we go. So you have learned about the find one as well as the find. Now you can do some complex queries also. So this is using the where clause, the limit, skip, sort, select, so many different things going on over here. Just remember that the select will be at the last, because after you perform all of these filtration, you want to select it. All right. All right, so let's see how we can actually update the record. Where is it? Here we go. So we have recipe.update1, all right, which is going to look for a record using this filter. So the source has to be grandma. And then in the steps array, it's going to push this thing, this text, all right. So we can use a very similar approach when we are updating the records, and we want to update the records in this case for a user or a first name Mary, which is this one, and we want to add the addresses to Mary, and Mary doesn't really have any address, so we need to update our record and we need to add addresses or address to Mary. So let's go ahead and do that. So user.update1, some sort of a filter criteria, the user we are updating. So the first name of that user will be Mary. Most probably when you're updating something, you're not really going to use the first name. It's very rare in real world. You're most probably going to be using the ID of the user that you are updating. All right. All right, so we are updating Mary. What kind of an operation that we need to perform? Well, we need to perform a push operation because we are actually going to push in an array. What's the name of the array? Well, it's called addresses. How do I know? Well, if you go to user, you'll see that this is the property called addresses, and this is an array. So let's go back. So what kind of properties, what kind of an object you want to put inside the addresses array? Well, let's see. Addresses array takes an object which contains street and city. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and create a street, Richmond, oops, and city, which in this case we can say Houston. All right, make sure everything is nice and it's closed up, everything. All right, and we are going to go over here and run node app.js. Okay, we don't really get any console.log because we don't have any console.log. So now we can go over here in our MongoDB CLI and type db.users.find and look for the record for the Mary, which is right over here. Unfortunately, Mary doesn't get updated. Address still is blank. It's like nothing there. So what I have found is in order for this to update, you have to also provide a catch argument or a catch function and error. I think this will be rows affected. We can just say affected, and this one is the delta of the rows, or the rows that actually, that actually got affected. Console.log, you can do a console.log over here. If there is any error, it's gonna show it over here. All right, so having that change, let's go back to our node app.js, stop it, run it again. All right, so that's good. Now we can go into our Mongoose and run the command db.users.find, which is going to list all of our items or records. And one thing you will notice now is that here we go, we have our Mary, first name Mary, last name Doe, but this time we have addresses added with the ID, city, and the street name. All right, so make sure you add this catch block. For some reason it looks like that this is kind of like require for you to update update any object. You can also use update many, where you are going to be updating multiple records. Okay, so if there are records where source is grandma, then you can use that. Just like updating the record, you can also use the deleting a record if you want to delete a particular record. So let me go back over here, comment out this. I wonder if you have to do the catch again in the deleting part of it also. So let's try it without the catch. So we don't have recipe, we have user.delete1, delete, see I can, so, okay, delete, delete one, and then you pass in the filter that you want to delete. So let's just say the delete record where the name is, first name is Mary. All right, and let's go over here and stop it and run it again. Okay, no error, nothing, and let's go ahead and run over here, but we can still see that Mary is still there. So db.users.find, and we still see Mary right over here. All right, so maybe it also requires some sort of a catch. All right, and not sure how many arguments it takes, but let's say B and C. So there we go, and now we will run find, and now Mary is actually gone. She's not there. So it looks like the catch argument is actually required. So please check that how many arguments does it take. Does it take 3 or 1 or 2? So that is for you to check it out. If you provide many arguments like D and E and all that, they will be just like nothing there. It will be like undefined or empty or null or something like that. All right, so that's pretty much it for deleting records.